What's going on, everyone? It is Monday, April 19th. My name is Everett Delorme, and welcome to the Volleyball Source podcast. We have a special episode today. Joining us, I think you're our first international guest, actually. Technically, you're an international guest, although it's kind of half and half. Today, we have joining us from the Cancun bubble. He just went on an amazing run, qualifying and making it all the way to the third or the second round of the Cancun event number one. We have former Team Canada athlete, now playing for the USA, Mr. Chaim Schalk. Chaim, how's it going?
Pretty good, Herbert. How are you doing? I'm glad to be here.
Glad to have you. You're repping Wildflower on your chest. That's great. Got to get the sponsors the shout out right off the bat. A really good run for you and Theo in your first real event. You guys were in Qatar a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, didn't qualify there, but you guys make a really, really good run here in Cancun. So first of all, how are you feeling?
I feel pretty good. Obviously, we played a lot of ball in the last few days, which has been really good to just get back into the swing of things because, like you said, in Qatar, we were 1 and out, so it was pretty quick. And obviously, the World Tour is extremely competitive, so being able to get like those games under our belt and play in these tough conditions and all that, I'm feeling pretty good. The body's a little sore. Today's a bit of a recovery day, just like kind of like a workout day, stay out of the sand because we've had 6 matches in the last 4 days, I think. So with these conditions and without having played any tournaments really for a long time, it was challenging but super fun to be back out here for sure.
You had to go through country quota, and then you had qualification. And then you had a banger of a pool in Pool B where you guys defeated Alessandro Navarro Fio, big upset in Game 1, then fell to Nicolai Lupo. That was a bit of a pool of death you guys had there in Pool B to kick off your first tournament.
Yeah, it was a good pool for sure. That's kind of what you expect when you're the 31 seed in the tournament. I think it's like, we're going to be grinding every single match, and we're going to be, we're a new team. We don't have points, so every tournament we get in, we're going to be a pretty low seed to start. And that's kind of the fun part, just like working your way up from the bottom again and seeing what you can do. But yeah, the game against Brazil was nuts. And all 4 guys were pretty dead on the court. And it was just good to be able to like find a way to win that one, even though we were just it was after a couple days of playing already. And it was just kind of one of those ones that will help our team a lot in the long run, I think.
It seemed like that game you had very much grinder mentalities. Like you lost the first set, grinded back in the second. I think you were down to like 5-1 or 6-1 in the third, and you just chipped away at that lead until you took over kind of right at the end. Is that the type of identity that you and Theo are going to be? Just play a very basic game, and you're going to grind away and make every point real tough on the other team?
Yeah, I think that's kind of we're a tough block D team, but in these conditions especially, it's anything can happen. In pretty much every match we've played, we've had runs where we give up a few and then we get a few back, and like we've had multiple runs of like 5 or 6 points. So getting down like 6-1 against Brazil in that third set we were like, yeah, it's gonna be tough, but we're still in it. Like we can make things happen, and Theo's such a big block that he can make points for me. So having someone that's a point scorer to play with is huge. And then, like you said, like, yeah, whatever happens or is happening, we always have that mentality. Like we need to keep working and just wait for our breaks to come and just keep, like you said, grinding away, grinding teams down. And in this conditions and for the next couple of tournaments, it's going to be the same way. So just got to keep working and put your head down and go to work. It's really fun.
What are the conditions like? Because from the streams, it looks like it's windy, but how windy is it exactly?
It's really windy, I would say. It's all the courts are kind of a little bit different though. Well, not too much different, but like court 3, which we played last night on, or I guess yesterday afternoon, it's like a lot windier than like the center court and court 2, but they're all windy. But the main thing is that anytime you set the ball or pass the ball a little bit high, it just, as soon as it gets like past 8 feet, it starts to blow around like crazy up there. So everybody's kind of adjusting their sets and keeping everything down. There's like a lot more bump setting happening because when you put your hands on the ball, you throw it up there and it just kind of blows around. So it's good for us because we're trying to, like, our mentality is like keep the pass low, keep the set low, and go around and just chop it around a little bit. But you've seen some teams struggle, I think, a little more trying to figure it out, and it'll be interesting to see like who figures it out the most over the 3 weeks, I think, because it's really swirly, I would say. And obviously super hot as well in terms of conditions. So you're continually like battling and figuring it out. And plus, like, I don't know about the women, but for the men, we're having like way more long rallies than we're used to too, because it's way harder to put the ball away in these conditions. So you're getting a lot more blocks, more digs, more extended rallies. So good for the cardio work, I guess.
Yeah, it's a tough one. How's the sand too? It looks deep.
It's pretty deep. I think it's like pretty average, I think, for what we're used to, because we're always in Hermosa. But some other people were kind of mentioning as I was going there that it's really deep, and for us it seems kind of similar to Hermosa, I would say. It's good sand, it's nice, it's white, it's yeah, that hasn't been an issue for us, the depth.
It seems to get everywhere. Like when players are getting up, like they're just caked in sand. Yeah. We saw Sam Schachter draw some abs in, which I find is funny because he definitely doesn't need to draw them in earlier in the week.
He used to do that all the time too. He kind of just draws in the abs after practice. But yeah, it's super hot and everyone's wet after every practice, so sand gets super sticky and everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it why. Pedlo's always going full flex, and anytime there's a camera around, so obviously Schachter has to poke a little fun. But overall, it's been a while since I saw you last. What was it? No, it wasn't Vancouver Open. It would have been AVP Chicago.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah,
you were cruising.
Yeah, saw you there. Quick question, because then you were playing with Theo then. Were you?
No. I've never played in AVP.
No, sorry. You were playing with Case Beer then.
Yes,
and AVP Chicago. Last year we saw you with Chase Buttinger in the AVP Champions Cup Series, and then this year with Theo. So what happened last year with Buttinger that just things didn't work out, and you've moved on now to Theo Brunner?
Yeah, I've just been getting around, just doing my U.S. rounds, I guess. Obviously, that's not like my intention is to play long term with any partner that I team up with, but Jeremy has never been really fully committed, I think, to the World Tour, and that's, as you know, like that's my main goal, is like to be a top World Tour team. And I tried it out with Chase for the year and saw a lot of potential in that team, and it was just, there's so much to a partnership that goes behind playing, that just like some of the other aspects weren't quite working out, I think, personality wise. It wasn't just wasn't the best fit for what I wanted to play, like the style that I wanted to play. So Theo's over there laughing.
Theo is right there. That's amazing. That's so good. What's up, Theo?
Oh shoot.
Politician over there.
I'm just no, I mean, you're always looking for the guy that you're going to have like that full package with, that you can grind and work with. And Theo and I had talked for a few years about playing ever since I kind of started thinking about changing. And it just didn't work out earlier. And then this timing seemed like it was really good for him and for me. And we're both in similar spots in life. Like we both have young kids and similar mentality, and we both want to go for Paris. So it was a natural for me. It was just like, you know what, let's take it. Let's go. Let's do it. And I've really enjoyed it. It's been a good off season and good training block getting ready for these tournaments. And just excited to keep getting better. We have so much potential, and we've shown like little bits of what we can do against really good teams. And I think we're only going to get better as we keep going.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty electric, guys, to watch you guys play all weekend. You guys finished with the 17th. Obviously your first finish in on the World Tour for a while, so congratulations for that. I have a feeling like it's only gonna get better throughout the next events, especially because you guys don't have any of that pressure with Olympic qualification or anything like that the other teams have. You guys are in that long game playing for 2024 almost. For
sure. It's we're kind of like, playing to get better and to like build for the future, and that can work two ways. Obviously, some of the Olympic teams are going to be extremely prepared and fully focused, and we're kind of in the building phases. But yeah, you can see that, that pressure affects teams different ways. And, even like in our qualifier, you could tell Chile was maybe a little bit tight in our match. I don't know. They're a fantastic team, and it was a really good match. But yeah, you kind of get that a little bit of an advantage at times, probably because we're a new team, and not everybody knows us super well, and we've both done pretty well without each other. So it's I guess we're a bit of a dangerous team, which is good, but we're also like in a position where we have to work our asses off just to get into these tournaments, because we're in the country quota and the qualifier and playing a lot more matches than a lot of these main draw teams. And so there's the other like fatigue side of everything too. So it's, yeah, I mean, I don't know, it kind of goes both ways a little bit, but we know that like we have to be super ready to go Wednesday for the country quota, because it's going to be just as tough as the last time, and every match was tight to get into the draw. So it's a grind, and it's going to be fun.
Does it feel good to be back on the FIVB Tour? Obviously, you've taken a few years of hiatus with the transition time between playing for Team Canada, playing for the USA. Does it feel good to be back?
Yeah, it's like super fun to be back and see all these familiar faces and lots of buddies on tour, and especially this tournament, just because we were able to get through and play all these top teams in the main draw, and you just starting from the bottom with no points. It's just like, it's going to be a process, and you're going to have those really good feeling tournaments. You're also going to have ones that aren't good feeling, just like Qatar was for us. So I'm super excited. It's just the level is so good. It's as high as it's ever been, and it's just presents itself with so many opportunities to just work super hard and see how much we can climb the rankings in this shortened season. It's going to be, it's just like everything's kind of crazy this year, right? With how little we have, but yeah, it's exciting.
Do you think the level's gotten better? Because I definitely think the level, like the level of the World Tour, has gotten better since a few years ago. Like you can't just kind of. You're not kind of, no one can kind of just show up and be like, you know what, we can kind of ease into things on pool play. Like now even qualifiers are gnarly. As you said, like having to play the Grimalts, like a team that medals on the World Tour in the qualifier is gnarly.
Man, like our entire qualifier was absolutely gnarly. Like playing those young Swedish kids who took a 9th in Doha, and then also Chile took a 9th in Doha. It's like, these are teams that generally could be like main draw teams once they start playing more and stuff. And Chile, I don't even know that they were going to be in the qualifier because they've been good for so long. It's just goes to show like how much depth there is, and how many teams seems like there's like 20, 30 teams that could win a tournament if they're on that 1 week. Right. So it's definitely gotten only better every year. And I think just a lot more younger players are getting really good, really fast, like the Swedes and Norway and a bunch of these other young teams, even like the Qatar team that beat us yesterday. Like they're really young, and they're just extremely physical, and the whole game on the World Tour is a super physical one. And I think that it's, compared to AVP, it's a little bit different that way. The pace is a little different. AVP is like incredible, super good level, super high level, but it's like every team just out here just hammers away and super physical. And it's just the style is slightly different, I would say, but it's awesome.
That's it. I forgot that you had to play the Swedes, and it seems so long ago, but I forgot. We did a preview show before the first event, myself and Louis Lett and the beach volleyball, and we were talking about how crazy that bracket was, where you and the Swedes had to play the Grimalts just to qualify for the event. Like that's
right.
That's gnarly stuff. And I mean, we've seen Amakora and Pristaus go all the way to the quarterfinals from the qualifier as well. So it just goes to show like, these tournaments are way more than 32 teams deep. I'm not going to lie, I kind of have an issue with allowing a third Mexican team in as the wild card, right? Especially because these events are so huge for Olympic qualification, right? You don't have any fans. So there's no need to like play to the fans by having a third Mexican team in there. And, you could have had one more team into the main draw. And on the other side, it's just free wins to who ever has them in their pool. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that for sure. It's kind of like, it's like, how much do you reward the country that's actually putting on events for us? It's like for the players, it's like, I mean, if that's what it takes for us to get a bubble of 3 tournaments in a row, for them to get their like all their wild cards for all 3 tournaments, and no one, and like maybe bumps one team out, then everyone's going to take that. But I agree. I mean, I think it's the Olympics. If Chile gets that opportunity to be straight into the main draw of this last tournament, that would have been obviously huge for them. They're like a bubble team for the Olympics, I think. So
Yeah,
it's yeah, it's a tough one. I think it's kind of just how the rules have always been with wild cards, is that like pretty much if you're the host, you're going to get that extra spot if you want it. I think if you're, because the FIVB wants tournaments, right? So it's a tricky one, but at least we have something to play, right?
yeah, absolutely. Can't complain about on that side. Seen a lot of people in the chats on in the YouTube streams complaining about like, why would you put it in Cancun? It's always so windy and stuff like that. And it's just like, guys, like trying to find somewhere where you could do something like this that has all of the hotel rooms that can do something like this. Like there's very limited places that you could pull something like this off, and the government and everything would be in line. So very thankful for the FIVB for pulling this off. Now,
For sure.
how do you, when you go to events, do you say hi to Ben? Are you and Ben still good? Like, do you guys still chat?
Yeah, me and Ben will always be good. Yeah, we're really good buddies. I mean, we're training tomorrow together. We train at tournaments together. I mean, I guess both guitar and here, but there's only been 2. But yeah, we had that special 5 years together, and that's a long time to play with someone. And both of us would agree with that. And we had so much success. I think it'll always be special. And we'll always remember that. Like it's especially after you take like a minute to like think about it. Once we broke up and all that stuff, and you like a year passes, you're like, man, it was pretty cool what we did. And no, we chat all the time and we're buddies, and it'll always be like that. There's no issues there. It was definitely not one of those breakups that was like whatever, hostile or whatever. So yeah, and plus like it's Ben, like how could you ever be mad at that guy? He's like the most quiet, chill, nice dude out there. Like that's just Ben.
It's very, very, very true. You're very right. Well, that's good to know. I just didn't want any awkwardness. We know that like beach volleyball is very much like a relationship. Sometimes you break up, and then there's still that coldness. Yeah. So you guys are almost like the exes that are now friends. You can go to the same parties and stuff like that, and joke around and stuff. So that's good. Now,
yep.
we're
definitely
that's great. Now we know why you made the jump. We don't really need to get in that anymore. I, for one, have never kind of questioned that decision. The reality is that you can make more money and financially support your family much more playing for the USA than you can for Team Canada. Now, after having been in the USAV system versus the Team Canada system, what are some of the differences you see in between the two?
It's very much like kind of what I thought it would be at this point. Like it's just the support. There's just a lot of avenues of support, I think, and it gives you opportunities to play for a long time and have that. Financially, there's opportunities that you just don't get in Canada, and I'm still like obviously at the bottom, working my way up the system, but I've been like pretty. They've welcomed me really well, I think, and I've been in the gym already for like a year, 2 years, and I've been with like the trainers and the massage and everything. I've had a lot of resources that they've invested into me, which has been amazing. And you can just, I don't want to talk bad about Canada, but it's just
we could talk a lot. We could talk a little bit bad about the like. I mean, like.
The reality is that I wouldn't have been able to play World Tour for a long time for Canada. And sorry, my phone keeps doing that. I don't know why.
Just too popular, blowing up over there.
I know. And just the ability to be able to do something that I love and make money, and also like play AVP. Like that's the other huge thing is it's really, when I tried to play a little bit of AVP while playing with Ben, it's not easy at all to play with 2 partners and try to figure out how to do well in both situations. So having your one partner, having the same goals, and having support behind you that is there, it's just night and day for me. And I'm super happy that I made the decision. Obviously the sit out part was tough, and then COVID and all that stuff, but I had an amazing tour in the AVP to play the whole time, and now I'm like ready to travel and I'm fresh. So it's everything's worked out really well that way. And yeah, I'm just stoked to be playing for the U.S.
Yeah, I still remember talking to you right after you had made the decision, and you were kind of explaining it to me, and you're like, look, man, like, even if I don't play FIVB, I can make more money and support my family as a AVP, just a straight up AVP player, much more than I can be like a top 10 team in the world playing for Canada. And I mean, that's a mind-blowing statistic, but it's real. I mean, we saw Sam Pedlow, just, was it yesterday or the day before, someone asked him about, you know, the longevity of playing beach volleyball in Canada, and he goes like, there's no longevity. Like, you know, this isn't a full-time job for me. I need to do other things to be able to make money. And, you know, like, there's a big issue as well in terms of like, do we have enough talent coming into the system? You know.
Because it's hard to get people to play if anybody who's looking at beach volleyball, especially even in the US, it's like you're looking at it like, wow, I could play indoor and make guaranteed money and do this and that. And then in Canada, when you're paying for every flight, every expense, everything, and you have to go get these crazy results, it's just hard to look at that and be like, I'm going to invest this much time into doing that. If you don't have like some family help or backing, it's like, or like a job, which once you have a job, it's like pretty hard to become the best player in the world too, or whatever, one of the best players in the world. So it's crazy. It's kind of, it's kind of something that everyone kind of hopes that the FIVB gets, like, next year after the Olympics, can start to turn it around for like how the athletes are treated in terms of prize money and all that stuff. Because like you said, I mean, AVP prize money is the same as this tournament, and this tournament has 50 amazing, ridiculous teams that, you know, it's like when you're playing AVP, it's like a 16 team draw, and it's still the same you still make the same money for winning, which is just, it is kind of crazy to think about.
When, you know, I know that the AVP kind of covers your flights and hotels and stuff like that when you compete for them. Is that correct?
Yes. They definitely help out. They definitely do the hotels, and I think in the last year they started doing our flights too. I haven't traveled to an AVP for a while because all last year was just like the Long Beach bubble.
True.
It'll be interesting. I mean, everything is kind of changing these days, so we got to see what the AVP comes up with this year for, like, if we're going to do bubbles or what locations and all that stuff. And AVP kind of changes things here and there, but in general, they've been trying to get a little bit bigger and better every year. There's usually more prize money put in every year, and it makes it a lot easier for us to be able to play.
Because when you were playing for Canada, basically the way it works is that there's a certain amount of government carding that Sport Canada would determine each team would get based off of the recommendations of Volleyball Canada. But after that, there wasn't anything in terms of financial support. Am I right?
I mean, the whole time that I played was we would get carding, a little bit of money every month, and then everything was out of pocket. It was, I think I got the flight to Rio and back covered, was like pretty much my only flight that was ever covered for Canada. So that's a tough reality, especially when you're probably paying like $60,000 to $80,000 a year to be a professional athlete. Right. And then in the US, as soon as you're like in the main draw or like at a certain level, you get kind of like everything covered. So it's the system. It kind of rewards you. If you're going to be a top player, it rewards you a little bit easier, you know?
Not to mention you're allowed to have your own sponsors. Yeah. I mean, that whole story of you guys not getting allowed to get sponsors, especially leading up to that 2016 run, it always blows my mind how there were sponsors, you know, like Lululemon, for example, being like, yeah, we want to sponsor these guys in volleyball. And I was like, no.
Yeah. I forgot about all this, Everett. Now you're bringing it up and bringing back bad memories.
I'm sorry. Is this PTSD?
Yeah.
Bringing back PTSD when
at the end of the day, like I had a really amazing time competing for Canada, and with Ben and going to the Olympics and stuff that's the stuff that I'll remember. You know, it's not the little stuff that we had to fight about all the time and making it fair for everyone and all that stuff. But it's all I can really say is that I'm really happy with where I'm at now, and the work that is going to keep going moving forward is exciting for me.
I'm excited for you. It's fun to see you back out there on the sand. Like we've definitely missed Chaim Schalk on the sand. The Sand Spartan, like you belong on the FIVB World Tour. That's for sure.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Now, you mentioned how many young European kids are coming up through the system, and I really feel like there's very much a lack of young North American kids. Like even looking at on the American side, like the youngest guys on tour are the Crabs and Triborn, and those guys are getting up there in age. No one 25 plus from North Americans. What was that? Sorry.
Yeah. They're like in their 30s now, basically. I think Trevor and Tri are both in their 30s or 30, maybe. Taylor might be 29. I don't know. But yeah, it's kind of, I mean, and it's always been like that a little bit, but in Europe, they just like, they'll specialize it from a really young age because that's how their systems work. In the US, it's play indoor, see if you can make a lot of money playing indoor. And then if you kind of slow down, then go play beach. That's what Theo did. And that's what a lot of guys did. So I think like we're just talking about men too, because the women is obviously completely the opposite, but there's not a lot of, I would say, super young, like incredible talent coming up in all North America, I would say. And it's kind of a little bit concerning, maybe. I don't know. It just means that we have to take care of business as old guys. That's kind of how it's going to, I'm kind of going to be like, whatever. I'm still young for the US, but it's kind of the beautiful part about beach volleyball is that you can be 23 and unbelievable, but it's going to be tough to beat that 44-year-old Jake Gibb or like these guys that have been playing forever and they have the experience, but you guys maybe are a little more physical at this point now. But this game is so incredible that like everybody can play and everybody can play for a long time.
Is that something like incredible that you've gotten to witness firsthand, like someone like Jake Gibb or Phil and Nick who have been going for so long and just continue to dominate, whereas guys that age in Canada don't continue playing because reality catches up with them and they need to get a job?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's motivating, I think, just because it's something that I want to do. I want to, I'm 34 right now. I want to be able to play like that. Like Jake's 10 years older than me, and it's crazy to think about like playing at that level in 10 years, but it would be pretty cool to do that. And that's kind of why, like, I have the ability to try to do that at least now in the US, where, like you said, I would have just probably quit and got a job at some point. But it's amazing what guys can do in sport. And I think especially beach volleyball, there's not many sports that like range from like 19 to 44, 45, where players can be at the top of the world at any point in that range, So it's an amazing thing about a lot of these sports. You have like a 3-year window to like make your money and do well. But in this one, we're like, just got to keep building and keep improving. And I think I can keep improving every single year. So it's good.
How have you found your game has changed throughout the years?
I think it's always changing. I feel like playing the AVP has helped me a lot. It's because it's a bit of a different ball. It's playing on a lot of beaches and a lot of wind. And it took me a little bit to kind of figure it out a little bit and have good results on the AVP. But I think just being in the American system when everyone's like super hungry and like gunning for you all the time, and you have all these really good training sessions, and there's people who want your position, who want your spot. I think that's kind of what's helped me the most is like the level that I've been playing in. And now I feel like I'm a lot stronger. I've done a lot of work in the gym, and I feel like I'm ready to get to that next level on the world tour now that I'm back out here. I think, with our team and everything, the potential of everything moving forward, it's exciting to see the things that we could do in the next few years for sure.
That sounds great. I completely blanked on the next question that I had to ask you. Oh wait, actually, now I remember. Now obviously when you're playing for Canada, it's very patriotic, right? As you said, it's not necessarily a money maker, so you have to love playing for Team Canada and playing for Canada to do that. Is it the same level of patriotism when you put on the Team USA jersey, or is it just different? Like, it's interesting because it's like you and Kaylee Humphreys are the two who have made that switch from playing from Canada to the US, and it's not like the Brazilian guys who go from like playing for Brazil to like Jordan or it's our number one rival. So
Right.
is it the same amount of patriotism? There's no wrong answers here. I'm just curious.
Yeah. I would say it's like, it is the same. I think for like any athlete in the US, it's the same. Like, for me, it's like my situation is weird because I'm still like getting used to wearing the USA jersey, and I love the US, but like growing up in Canada, it's always going to be there, right? It's always going to be like my home where I grew up. So for me, it's always going to be a little bit different, but I love the US, and Canada is just always going to be in the back pocket as like, that's my kind of home. My family all lives there. I still go there. I try to go there all the time. I can't right now, but it's, in terms of the country though, it's the same. I think like everybody loves sports and they're super patriotic, and it's not something that's about the money. It's about representing your country and doing it to the best of your abilities. And that's what I'm doing for the US, and I'm loving it. It's really cool.
I will have to say though that about 99.9% of the American volleyball people I've met have been top-notch people. So it's, I love the American volleyball scene, whether it's the AVP or going down for World Series beach volleyballs, or even just the American guys and girls on tour, even indoor or on the beach. American volleyball people are always great people, I find.
I would agree with you completely there. And I don't know a lot of other athletes from other sports like I did in Canada, so I can't comment there, but I think, yeah, the scene here is really cool.
Do you notice any differences in general with how Americans treat sport or volleyball compared to Canadians? Like, my assumption is, being down in Hermosa and stuff like that, is just the level of knowledge and awareness of beach volleyball would be infinitely higher than here in Canada.
For sure, like the training environment and like the amount of people who are like mindful about the game is pretty crazy. If anybody who goes to Hermosa to spend some time there and just like checks out the training and checks out the environment and how many people are playing all the time, it's hard not to be on a different level, just because there's just so many people in the US and so much interest in the sport. And that's what kind of led me and Ben in the first place to move to Huntington Beach. Was like, we were there, like, why don't we just do that and try to surround yourself with people who are better than you and figure it out that way. It's having the amount of people who are super into it playing makes a huge difference.
Has it, we always see this in like professional sports where a player gets traded and they just need that change of scenery, and all of a sudden they just get rejuvenated and get their career going again. Not saying that your career has died by any means, but do you feel any kind of rejuvenation since joining the American program?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that like I traveled so much for so long with Ben that like it just wears you down a little bit when that was like the only tour we were playing. So we would go to 10, 12 tournaments all around the world, and to be able to like take that break and then be home and playing tournaments like that are like a 1 hour flight or like in my backyard, do that for a while. It kind of totally made me feel like I was younger again. Like, oh man, like starting over a little bit and having that time to really figure it out. It's similar to like something like, getting a trade. Like, oh, like everything's fresh, new faces, new partner. Basically, that's a good way to look at it. It's like I got traded from one team to another, and
it's
time to start building again.
It still hurts a little. I won't lie. Like seeing you, I think one of the biggest daggers was a couple years ago, and you're doing like a Team USA photo shoot, and Try was Instagramming it, and like you were wearing the Team USA jacket and like had flags and stuff like that, and I was just kind of like, whoa, it's real. Like that sucks. But once again, like no hate. It makes sense. I'm just forgetting all of my questions this morning. I guess I'm still thinking of Mel and Sarah's last match. But yeah, did you watch that match, by the way?
I watched parts of it. It looked like it was kind of like a little bit of runs there back and forth again, kind of with the wind, and Mel had that big ace to win it, right? And then
I think it was questionable. I think
it was in.
Yeah, you think it was in, but based off what I saw on the replay, I almost think it might have been some sand splash. But I don't know. I found that like Brandy and Heather just didn't get things going in the first set. They finally got their mojo going in the second. So I just really wanted to see a third set of volleyball. Yeah. That's what I wanted.
It would have been good for sure. But yeah, they always have really good battles, and and they're both such good teams. It's cool to see that them just going head to head all the time. But maybe the next one will go 3. Who knows?
Maybe. What do you and Theo have to do to kind of prepare for and improve on that 17th place result in the next couple of events?
I think we talked about it a bit yesterday, but we need to do a bit of a reset and start from scratch again, because like you can't get too far ahead of yourselves in these things, because any team can beat you on any given day if you're not like fully firing. So we have a bit of a rest day today, and then back straight to training tomorrow morning, and getting ready to be like 100% for our country quota, because like as you know, like country quotas are not super fun, and they're pretty like usually pretty tight. So we got to take care of, I think we'll be playing the same team again. So we got to take care of those guys and get back right on it, and not like think about too much about how much fun it was the last week when we were in the main draw and all that stuff. It's like, no, we need to win 3, potentially 4 matches just to get into the tournament again. So
potentially 4, because the qualifier is getting bigger.
Not the qualifier. It would be like only if Try and Trevor get bumped into the main draw again, because there's another American team coming. Billy Allen and Andy Benish are coming.
Okay. So
if Try and Trevor were to get bumped into the main draw again, which it doesn't look like they would, then we would play 2 matches to get into the main draw or into the qualifier. We'd have to first beat those guys and then beat Klinsky and Evans. But right now, I think Try and Trevor are something like 4 or 3 or 4 on. So it would be like a few teams would have to drop out for that to happen. But it's as it looks now, is Try and Trevor will probably be in country quota on Wednesday.
Dang, so that's going to be a full country quota for you guys, and then you guys have to play country quota, qualifier, and then the main draw if you guys get in there. That's a lot of ball.
Like we can't be like too like high on this or whatever. Not even that 17 is like such an amazing result or anything, but the ball that we played made us feel like we're moving in the right direction. But it's still like we need to keep building and just start fresh again and hit that reset button, because there's not a lot of time between these tournaments.
Are you guys going to be going to the European stops in Sochi and Strava?
Yeah. That's the plan right now. We want to play as much as we can and build ourselves up for the next few years. Obviously, getting ready to qualify for Paris is going to be a huge grind, like as everyone knows. So it starts now, and we need to put ourselves in a position where we're like in a good spot for 2022. And that's why playing as many events as possible, getting better and getting those points is kind of the biggest thing as I'm starting from zero. So.
I guess you have no points, right? So any points you get is just going towards your entry points and ranking points for future events.
Yeah, basically. I got a couple NORCECA finishes when I played with Jeremy just briefly at 2019. But those are pretty small points. And this was like a pretty solid amount of points, and just got to keep building, keep getting better, and put ourselves in that position to do well.
Now that you've played in kind of 2 federations, you've played AVP, you've played all around the world, what do you think Canada needs to do next to try to get new blood into the system and reinvigorate men's beach volleyball? Sorry.
I think the biggest thing you could do, and pretty much every federation has some sort of a national tour, and it just seems like there's a couple of good events that are sweet, like the Vancouver Open and a couple in Ontario, but it needs to be like something that's more of like a path to success. It's not just like a one-off tournament where like some really good teams and international teams show up. And I personally think you need to start with a good tour, and that's how the US does it. It's like AVP people start to do well on that, and then it gives them the confidence that they like, oh, I can play World Tour. Like I'm getting to Sundays, I'm getting to quarters, semis, finals of AVPs. I'm at the point now where I can probably play on the World Tour. The task of like what like me and Ben and what some of these other like these girls and what a bunch of the top men's teams over the years have done just by like training indoors, training and going to play these qualifiers and playing against all these teams that are like have their own national tours and all that stuff. It's pretty crazy if you think about it. Like not only the financial investment and all that stuff, but then like traveling out there and be like, I got to beat these amazing teams. And I don't have that experience of like playing on a tour and like beating up my own countrymen for the last couple of years. It's like when we were playing, we would play like we'd only ever play our countrymen on the world tour. That's like when we would play each other. We would never play, except for like way back in the day when you play like that one tournament of nationals a year where everyone was there, you know? So that's where I would start and get a sponsor to be able to get it going. But I think that's what creates the most interest.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's I'd love to see a national tour, but I mean, hey, it's out of my hands. Are we going to be seeing you at the Vancouver Open again?
I hope so. See if I can pull Theo over there. That was super fun a couple years ago,
dude. If we can
happen.
I mean, like the entire country is still in lockdown here, so the probability of it happening in 2021, I would say, is negative. But I mean, the Vancouver Open is the longest standing beach volleyball event in Canada. It's been going on for 20, almost 30 odd years, right? So it's going to come back, and there's so many people who love that event and are champions of it that, I mean, there's been years past where the Vancouver Open is really just for the local guys. Like what we saw back in 2019 was really peak Vancouver Open. Right. So I'd love to see that, but I don't know if that's feasible.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But definitely the next time it's on, if there's no conflicting like world tour event, I will be back. Like that is such a good event and so fun.
The problem is that it's always on the same weekend as Stad.
I know,
and that's
you're not going to do that one for Stad.
Yeah, like
we'll see.
It's like that weekend is always such a banger weekend because it's like Stad, Vancouver Open. The past few years has been the Nations League Finals and Waupaca, which is the big grass tournament in Wisconsin.
Right. Yeah,
is grass or like snow a thing that you would ever consider? Like
sure.
snow volleyball. Like I feel like you should be hooking up with the McKibbins, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what I feel like the McKibbins do well at snow volleyball. All they need, and like those are two Hawaii guys, so they've got the volleyball part. Obviously, you got the volleyball part, but you're from Red Deer. You know a thing or two about snow, so you can teach them about different snow packs and stuff like that. I feel like that's a match made in heaven.
Yeah. It's something. I mean, I still don't know how I feel about the whole snow volleyball thing because it's pretty random, but it's I don't see why not. Make it an Olympic sport. Absolutely.
So here's my suggestion. Let's make it into Olympic sport, and it'll be a questionable Olympic sport, right? Like where it's just like, we're like there's a few of them that are kind of popping up now. It's like kind of like, okay, cool. So at that point, you'll be a little bit older. Like this, we're probably talking about like 10 years down the road, and you can come back and play for Canada at that point. And you'll be the first. You'll be the first athlete to play in 3 different Olympics for 2 different countries. That's what I want for you.
That would be wild. We're gonna have to see if that can work. I don't know if you're allowed to go back.
But it would. I don't know. But because snow volleyball would be at the Winter Olympic Games.
True.
Right? So it would be a different Winter Games altogether. Like we've seen Kaylee Wickenheiser, she was softball and she was hockey, like do a little both. You could be beach volleyball for the USA and snow volleyball for Canada.
Seems easy enough. Let's do it. Sure.
Okay. Let's do it. I know Rudy Verhoof wanted to start a snow volleyball.
Yeah.
So
on my team for sure.
Absolutely. It's just sand Spartans, snow Spartans.
We'll do the Spartan team for sure.
Do you still hold a lot of like pride in Spartan volleyball?
Absolutely, yeah. I love those guys. I still talk to Ben Josephson all the time, and that was like, that was where I grew as an athlete the most. But when you're like figuring out in university and learning that competitiveness of the sport and all that stuff, so it's amazing how good that program is now, and it's crazy. Like, I mean, we were good when I was there too, but like not like this. It's pretty wild how talented they are and how many kids want to play there.
I mean, it's a factory. Like they're getting top recruits now from Germany, from the US. Like every kid in the Canada knows that they want to go there, and they've just been popping out top end at volleyball talent. You were kind of at the front edge of that.
Yeah, I started that, right?
Yo, 100%, right? Like, and like they went from what was Benjo the setter before you? Was that how it worked?
No, he was the setter probably like 8 or 9 years before me.
Oh, okay.
But it was Josh Howitson and me. So Howitson was setting in his 5th year when I went there. And then he actually ended up playing middle that year because we had so many middle at the very end. So we had so many middle injuries. And so we went to the Final Four with I ended up getting to set, and then Howitson played middle and dominated. Like I was like, he led the league in hitting percentage as a setter playing middle. So he was a freak.
I mean, that has something a lot to say about the setter in that position too, though. You know?
Yeah, you always got to try to take the credit, right? When you can. But no.
Well, I mean, 100%. Like everyone calls Tom Brady the GOAT, and he doesn't score any touchdowns. I mean, he does a couple, but you know,
for sure. No, that's.
Did you win?
That's cool.
Did you win a national championship for them?
I didn't. No, we got third, and then so that's like the thing. Like I went in there and I helped build up some of these young kids. Like when like Rudy and Howitson and these young guys were coming up, but it was a bit of a rebuilding couple of years for me. Because my third year was when I transferred there from Red Deer College, and then we got third in the nation that year, and then the next 2 years we didn't. We were kind of on the bubble of making nationals. Basically, it was like but those were amazing years. Like I loved the team and the growth that we had.
Wow, dude, I forgot that you played for Red Deer. So not only did you play for the best team in university ball, you also played for the best team in college ball. So you just have excellence, like, you know, oozing out of your pores.
I guess so. I've been just lucky to be recruited to the right places and grow up in the right areas, and have 4 brothers that beat the crap out of me my whole life so that I became good at something.
Hey, I guess that helps. Are you the youngest?
Second youngest, but it was hard out there for sure with those guys. My brothers are nuts.
I still remember watching the 2012 finals. CIS finals in Kingston, and you were there, and Lance Verhoof was there, Rudy's older brother, and you guys were full on bandwagoners. I guess not bandwagoners because you guys were Trinity guys, but you guys were going hard for that one.
We were pumped. Yeah, that was a blast of a weekend. That was unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah, we were part of that for sure.
No, you guys were definitely if you guys weren't on the court, but you guys were definitely part of that crew pushing that team along.
For sure.
Anyways, well, dude, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come and chat with us. I know it's your off day. You want to relax. You want to go hang out on the beach, hang out by the pool. You know, do some recovery. But instead, you spent it inside talking to me, and I can't thank you enough for that.
Dude, it's been fun. It's been fun to catch up. It's been too long, so we'll have to do it again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe at the end of the bubble. Maybe once you win your first medal with Theo, we can catch up again then too.
Let's do that.
Awesome. Well, dude, best of luck in the next event. The country quota starts on Wednesday. Is that it?
Yeah. So the day here tomorrow. Yep.
Awesome. Well, that means Mel and Sarah can win the championship on Tuesday, and then we can watch Chaim and Theo on the country quota on Wednesday.
It's full on, isn't it? This whole bubble. It's crazy.
Dude, it is gnarly. I'm a little upset that they wouldn't let media come in, you know, because you know that like I would have been there like full on. It would have been great, but instead we just got the streams, which are great in itself.
For sure. In time that'll happen, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you very much. Chaim, thank you very much. Always love chatting with you, and go kill it for the rest of the bubble.
Thanks a lot, Everett. We'll talk soon.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Peace.